Hey, hey, this is the first last the Nerdom, and this is Thomas, and I'm here with Mike Shaw, and we're here to talk about Akira.
Yes,
Uh, yeah. um, well, let's talk about anime and manga. Um, when I was first introduced to anime, my very first anime was Speed Racer.
okay. Yeah.
uh that was my jam back in the day, and I had no idea that was anime. That was just a cartoon that I loved. And then later on, uh there was another cartoon that I absolutely loved that was an anime called Battle of the Planets, and had G-Force in it. And that's kind of a deep 70s cut. I didn't give Mike a link to that, but yeah, that's one of the animes that I truly love. And it's um kind of predecessor to the whole robot kind of combining into a bigger robot kind of thing. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my jam back in the day. So those two animes were very influential to me, but I had no idea that those are animes. And then later on, um, yeah, and the whole Japanese animation thing didn't really catch my attention until Marvel decided to produced the manga Akira back in the late 80s. And I caught on to the end of it. They took the manga and started coloring it because it was in black and white in
Okay.
Japan. And that's where I kind of latched on to Akira. And I found they were going to do a movie about it, and I didn't get to see it until it got released into VHS. And yeah, and back in the day, um, stuff got uh, there wasn't the internet. You didn't tell someone, oh, you gotta watch this streaming
No,
service. You gotta watch
no,
this
you didn't.
show on, yeah. So when I was able to get a hold of a VHS of Akira, the movie, and um maybe I made a copy of it illegally. I don't know. Hey, I don't know. But I took it over to a friend's house, and I was like, oh my God, you got to see this. So we got a bunch
All
of
right.
friends together, and we watched it, and minds were blown. And
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, that's how that's how I introduced Akira to the world. um how was your experience with the anime and manga?
Yeah, absolutely. Um uh and this is going to take me a minute to find but well, I mean, I had watched Speed Racer or whatever, like that I had
Mhm,
seen, but like I didn't really never caught my fancy or anything, to be honest. So like
mhm,
I didn't know that was. I've never seen Battle of the Planets before.
mhm,
And I would also say I've never seen this before, honestly.
uh-huh,
But Voltron,
mhm,
not directly, but like as a through kind of vicariously through my uncle, who my uncle is 10 years older than me.
mhm,
So he had these things that I would kind of like when I was younger. I would kind of come up and kind of see and play with him here occasionally when I would go to my grandparents' house when he was still. I think he's 10 years older than me. So when I was 10, he was about ready. He was already out of the house, and he would
mhm,
periodically come back and visit. I think he was in the military. I think he was in the army. But in
mhm,
any case, going to college or something, or working out. Uh, and in any case, I really idolized him a lot, and I still do. Like many of our folks we look up to. But Voltron is like one that I didn't like. I didn't have all that too many opportunities to see it on TV because we didn't have like,
Mhm.
unless it was like we would rent it. But Transformers was one. I don't know if that's considered anime or not, but that definitely that. And then there's one
Yeah.
that I do know that is anime, and I'll try to find it. I'll try to look for it here while you
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
like kind of give a little bit of color.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I guess yeah,
I did
back in the
not till like
day.
much later. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day, both GI Joe and Transformers, they started out as toys. So like
Mm,
the toys for Transformers came from Japan, and they created the comic book and the cartoon here in the United States. So yeah, those are quite anime. There was another Japanese comic book or cartoon that I was fascinated by, which was Robotech. That came out here in the US back in the late 90s, I think, or not in the late 90s, but early 90s, maybe 1989, maybe. But yeah, it was I never got to see the actual cartoon, the anime for it, but I kind of latched on it, and they actually wrote novels based on the the
okay.
anime, and I read those, and I was like so obsessed with those. And I have a friend, his name is Ernest. He was he and I were both big into those. He actually, I think, got to see the cartoons or the anime
Mhm.
for Robotech, and I was quite jealous of him at the time.
Mm,
But yeah, I never actually got to see Robotech, and I think it's on Amazon now, so I could probably actually get around to seeing that. But yeah, the whole Robotech thing was like
oh, okay.
really, I was really obsessed with it for a time there. Rick Hunter was his name, yeah, the big character in it.
That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah,
Okay. That's funny. You know what? I remember that logo there. I
mhm,
never saw Robotech, but I remember seeing that
yeah,
FH thing. Anyway, but yeah. So thank you for giving me a little time and space to jog my memory. But
hmm,
the one that I vividly remember that I didn't know this until years later that it was considered anime or was anime or whatever was the Mysterious Cities of Gold. I have vivid memories of this as a kid watching
hmm,
this. Now they replayed this on Nick Jr. I think or Nick Elodian, whatever
hmm,
at the time. I think it was Nick Jr. I think I don't know whatever the hell it was called way back when, but
hmm,
they played this quite a bit. They played the whole thing series a few times, and I remember always watching when it was on. I was just
hmm,
captivated, and I was probably
yeah,
like really young, probably like 4 or 5 or 6, something like that. I don't know. But in any case, it might have even been later on in the 80s too. Now that I think about it, but in any case, whenever I saw it, it left an impression. So that, and I'd say
yeah,
probably that and Voltron would probably be
hmm,
my two strong ones. But as
yeah,
far as Kira, like our main event, I had never seen it prior to this.
yeah,
I think there was like now that I see this, like there's probably like a whole bunch of like these kind of like Robotech type ones.
hmm,
Now that I think about it, because there was like even into the early '90s, there was kind of like this thing. But anyway, I digress. But that's cool. Like this would be just cool
yeah.
to watch,
Yeah,
regardless. Like this.
and the big thing I would like to impress upon our audience, that may be younger than us, is that this whole idea of Japanese anime and manga was like this real mysterious thing to us at the time, because there we didn't have access to it. Very little access. We had the occasional series like Speed Racer and whatnot. We couldn't go
Sure.
into, say, Barnes and Noble and see like the walls and walls of manga that we could pick from. That wasn't the case. You had very very limited, if at all any, selection of anime or manga. And the fact, and I think Akira was one of the first things that really hit America and was like, okay, this is a thing, and really
Over.
brought anime and manga to the central focus. It kind of bridged the gap and sort of made it a thing here, that people wanted,
Yeah.
that there was a demand for. And yeah, when I saw Akira for the first time, it was like a revolution to my mind. It was like, oh my god, this is what I always wanted, but I didn't know that I wanted. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had seen other anime, and I can't remember what the heck it was. I would have to go back and talk to a couple old Army or actually Air Force buddies, like to even jog the memory. And I might be able to find it, but it's one of those things like where if I know it would take me longer than 15 minutes to look for, so I won't bother. And I've done this. I should have bookmarked the damn thing. But in any case, when we watched this, I actually watched this a couple times.
Oh yeah.
And I actually rewatched other parts of it more than that, honestly.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
just to like, I was blown
It's
away
a great
by
it's a great science fiction story.
it,
It's
it's almost like if you see your first Quentin Tarantino film and you don't know what
mhm.
you're in for,
Yeah.
or something along those lines of like, and I don't mean by style. I don't mean by style at all, in any
Mhm.
way, shape, or form. It's just that like when you see something done in a way that you've never seen done before, that's what I mean. Like
Mhm.
I mean, I have probably the closest thing to this would have been and I rep them all the time. The DC animated longer movies, longer form. I
Mhm.
love those. I think those are
Mhm.
awesome. I think they're perfect for what they are, and I think they're very underrated. Very,
Mhm.
if anything, they're more underrated because they are so good. But having said that, the violence and the seriousness and like the adult
Mhm.
level, like it's just something you don't expect. That like you don't
Yeah.
you don't expect. And there's it was just interesting.
Mhm.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
It was so the visuals were so friggin' awesome. I
Mhm.
had to watch it again. It's just like,
Mhm.
like what I'm not gonna lie, it took me a minute to figure out the plot and kind of figure out put two and two together,
Mhm.
like but
Yeah,
um
they kind of squeeze so much into 2 hours. They really do. And the manga spans 2000 pages, so they really
wow.
try to squeeze so much in. And the creator of the manga was like very influential, and he was like, if you're gonna he didn't want to do a film, and when they said that they want to do a film, he was like, I need to be involved in this. And so that's why I think that's why the movie is so successful, is that he had so much of a hand in it and to craft it. And like the whole movie um goes like so far in the manga, and then the the manga actually wasn't fully written by the time the end of the movie. And the creator of it said that it was probably the worst way to do it, but so in the manga is actually really good. Like it goes beyond what the movie does. But the movie really capsulizes what really was important in the manga and makes a really great movie as well. And that's, I mean, it's a testament to the movie that they were able to do that.
Yeah, it was from the and you don't even wait long. You have these incredible visuals, and
Mhm.
just the level of story, like like the glass, like when it's kind of just floating a little bit or
Mhm.
whatever. At like one of the scenes, the very early on, it's really cool. If anything, um, it makes me want to see this on like a huge, massive screen and
Oh
like try
yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
Mhm.
And I had to look to watch this, and I had to do. I was able to watch it. Let's just put it that way. So,
Uh,
and it was just great in general.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was. I,
And
and the thing is that I didn't. I went in blind because I didn't want. I was really excited because I had heard about this. I had heard about the movie before in the past, and I didn't. But I otherwise I was coming in blind, and I'm glad I did that. Like I'm glad that I
Mhm.
didn't know like any
Yeah,
background
definitely.
to know
Yeah.
like that. But and then as far as like manga goes, like really the only manga that I've only really read was that one that Planets or Planets
Mhm.
has
Yeah.
that one, and I have volume two that I still have to jump into, but
Mhm.
I really enjoyed volume one.
Yeah.
And then my
Yeah.
brother-in-law introduced me to a sci-fi book, and I might bring that up as a pick here in the coming weeks, one of these days, like once
Yeah.
I crack it open and actually read it. But yeah, no,
Oh, and
going back to Akira,
uh,
the visuals were like it just begs you to like kind of crank the speakers up a little bit, and
mhm.
just kind of like let it play. It pulls
Yeah,
you in. It does good.
yeah, it's one of those that I did get the soundtrack for because the soundtrack to this is just I mean pitch perfect. There's scenes in it that the music in it just adds so much to it. There's uh but yeah, to backtrack a little bit, we didn't talk about the story of it. Basically
No, we did it. Yeah, yeah.
it's about
Yeah, we were talking about it as essentially as an icon, and like if
Mhm,
there's anything that I could say, like there is no hype around this. There is no hype. It is just watch it and you understand.
mhm,
Essentially,
mhm.
that is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead and
yeah. Yeah, it's
we can
like
thank both.
yeah, the bad thing is like Studio Ghibli has like so iconic thing around it and everybody has to see those movies, but this is like one of those iconic movies that really doesn't have the mystique about it that it should have. um for the average person, like for the the people that know, they know, but everyone else, they don't know. But yeah, it's basically about a biker gang that one of the members run upon this strange uh kid that looks like a like an old person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a kid that reignites this thing inside the biker that triggers this cosmic power within him.
Hmm.
And the main character Kaneda, or Kanata, I think they say, he's trying to get to his friend to save his friend. He has no idea what's going on. Everything is taking on a bigger scale than him, but he's kind of fighting through this and trying to get through to his friend. And but yeah, and everything kind of blows up at the end. And but yeah, there's so much going on, uh but yeah,
It, it
the
took me a minute. I'm not gonna lie. It took
uh,
me like by the I was like, oh, and then it made more sense. But otherwise, it's
right.
still
And there,
even still. And I guess it depends on if you have it English dub or if you do the let the Japanese and do the subtitles. I was lazy. I did the English dub.
mhm. Yeah,
But,
I almost always do the subtitles, because because the Japanese actors seem to be a little bit better, but I went ahead with the dub this time, and it wasn't bad. The dub isn't bad at all in this one. And I enjoyed it. The characters, it's one of those movies, and I love this about movies, is that there's not a true good or bad guy. I mean, the Kaneda and his biker gang aren't that good of people. I mean,
no, they're not.
they're truly bad kids. And there's different elements. There's the government. There's various elements, and there's bad and good about everybody involved. There's terrorists
Right.
that are doing things that they think are good, and you could see them as good people, but I mean, they are terrorists.
Right.
um, so yeah, it's kind of an interesting movie in that you when I first watched it, of course, I connected with the character Kaneda, but when I get older and a little bit more wiser, I could see the various aspects of the people in play in this, and it makes it more a richer a film because you can see the various perspectives in this, and that there's not like a true right answer in what's
Mhm.
going on here.
Yeah, like bad guy is a bad guy, and
Mhm,
I have no idea what the history or the background is, what the manga, and like obviously it's like a
mhm,
probably a very good one to get into if you want to
mhm,
do that. But it really is, again, it's an adult film. You know, it's
mhm,
very layered.
absolutely.
It's very complex. It's showing. I don't think I would call it slice of life, but I would say that it's showing like encapsulating like the class struggle in kind of where these kids are coming from, where
Mhm,
it's very complex, and it
yeah.
does it. It just blows my mind that you could do. I mean, of course you could do that with animation, I guess, but it's just a different way of seeing how it is,
Mhm,
and this kind of is.
mhm,
I get it. Like there's this, and I don't know what the style is, but it's I don't kind of dystopian, kind of punk,
mhm.
kind of like Blade Runner
Cyberpunk.
esque,
Yeah,
cyberpunk. Thank you.
Cyberpunk,
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
Blade Runner,
Thank you.
yeah. It
Right,
kind
right.
of, yeah, it definitely added to the cyberpunk atmosphere that was going on at the time in the 80s.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And
It,
this just begs to be brought up. Like, and I'll look it up here in a little bit. But the those type stories were famous. Like Neomancer, I think.
mhm,
There's another
yeah.
one too that's even more famous than that. That was like that. I think this is where we get into the Neil Gaiman territory. I think Neil Gaiman,
Mhm.
whatever. Uh, but Neuromancer.
Oh, and the fact that animated movie got to those
And
violent
Gibson.
yeah, that yeah, Gibson is William Gibson's he's probably known for starting the cyberpunk thing. I've tried reading Neuromancer, but I've never actually made it through that book.
Was thinking Neal Stephenson. Snow Crash was like
Yeah, yeah,
was
he's
an original one. I have read
yeah.
that one, and I have read some of the preceding series too. And I believe that Altered Carbon is based off of that character line. I think. I don't know,
Okay.
but anyway, Altered
Uh,
Carbon is also on Netflix.
mhm,
In it, the
mhm,
season one, I
mhm,
haven't seen season two, and I need to. But season one of Altered Carbon with I can't think of the guy's name. I'll pull it up here in a second, but
mhm,
that is really good. It's
mhm.
really, really good.
Yeah,
But I can't speak to season two, but I just don't have an interest to go back and watch. I should, but and
mhm.
anyway, but yeah, for sure,
But
Cyberpunk is a thing, and like this is, I don't know if this would be in that universe or not. I don't know, but
mhm. Yeah, it's like the whole thing about the when I was back in the late 80s, early 90s when this first came out,
mhm,
cartoons were cartoons. Akira was something beyond that. The Nowadays people are kind of take it for granted that um animated movies can be more than what a kids movie can be. But at the time, the thought of a violent cyberpunk movie like Akira at the time was just not a concept for us back in the early 80s. So whenever it came to us, it was like a revelation, and in watching it, it was like, oh my god, this you're seeing something for the first time, like, oh my god, this is a violent animated movie that's science fiction and is telling an intelligent story that is mind-blowing. Was mind-blowing at the time. And it really ignited the whole excitement for manga and anime, and really I think led into what we have now today, which which with all the anime tropes. Now the this Akira had none of that. There's no cutesy anime girl in Akira. The animation in the Akira is very more realistic. Of course, they have the big eyes a little bit, but
Mhm.
there's like a realistic nature to the animation for Akira.
There's a reality to and a visceralness and a gory kind of body gore. Yeah, okay, there's a body gore, but it's not the same
Mhm,
as like to like shock you. It's just part and parcel of that world and of what's going on in there.
mhm,
It was just very well done,
mhm,
very well done, and this also makes me want to see. I think Amazon or one of the services like when I was looking for this, it popped up Paprika,
mhm,
and I know that's a very famous
mhm,
manga or manga, and then but
mhm,
I know I saw that they actually had a that they whoever did it made it into a animated anime, I guess.
mhm.
And I saw that and I was like, "Ooh, that's cool. I want to check that out later." And the and
Yeah.
the Ghibli, I believe, is what you were saying before. Like that's like the
Mhm,
really wholesome,
mhm.
kind of sweet, furry kind of
Yeah.
cutesy character. And that I wasn't aware of that. Like I had, but I my sister growing up was a lot more into manga and anime in general.
Mhm,
Generally wasn't. It was just whatever. It was what it was.
mhm,
But years later, I had remember her talking about it with my brother-in-law, and they had kind of talked about how like how classic it was, etc. But I didn't know that. But and it's
mhm,
one of those things that like it'll be nice to experience that one of these days. But I'm
mhm,
passingly familiar with kind of like how famous it is anyway. Like just
mhm.
because I'll see random nerd things on the YouTube on the YouTube or whatever, that kind of thing. Excuse me. But
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a great pick.
Mhm.
This is a great pick.
And to mention the music, I was looking at the Wikipedia and it said that Kanye West was influenced by the music of the movie the movie. But yeah, there was several different musicians that were influenced. But yeah, the music I don't really pay attention to the soundtrack to most movies. But this movie, among others, like say Blade Runner, was another one that the music really stood out to me. It I don't know. With this one, there's like there's lot of chanting involved in it.
Mhm.
And that I don't know if that really influenced me in really enjoying that, but yeah, that's that kind of stood out to me.
Oh yeah, well, movies I have a special bond with, or that I just love. Typically, like the soundtrack will be one that I will find myself buying or listening to.
Mhm,
True with Gladiator, even Eyes Wide Shut. I think
mhm,
I don't know why, but I just love that
mhm,
soundtrack. And there
mhm,
are some other ones, but and also it's funny too when the soundtrack is really really famous and really really good. Hollywood will reuse that soundtrack later on.
mhm.
I know I've heard that before, like on good soundtracks that were amazing, and then years later you hear them be repurposed in other movies. It's kind of funny, but
Yeah.
for sure,
Oh,
that's cool. That's cool.
and there's of course Hollywood wants to make a live action movie of this, and uh TTY Tiki was actually set up to do the live action of it,
Okay.
but he it got postponed because he did the sequel to Thor, so he did the new Thor movie instead. So maybe he'll get back to this. I don't know how this would go live action. I have faith in him in that he seems to like and respect this type of content. So I
Mhm.
would think that he would do a good job on translating it, but I don't know if it really needs a live action interpretation of it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo it too much
Mhm,
because I'm a nobody coming in. Like
mhm,
considering I just learned about this. I mean, I had heard about it, but I actually seeing it this
mhm,
past week. This one is one like where I would say if they're an established director and they know they have that good creative vision and they have a
mhm,
good track record with it,
mhm,
let them go at it, see what happens. If it sucks, it sucks, and their name's forever tied to it. If it's great or even half decent,
mhm,
at
mhm,
worst case, it becomes a cult, a cult hit. I guess I don't know, but
mhm,
we'll see. That I didn't even know that they were doing that. I would be interested in that. I would be very skeptical.
mhm.
But why
Yeah.
not? I mean, God knows they make every other thing that nobody asked for.
Mhm,
And they think that that's the next wave or something or whatever.
mhm.
But it is what it is. But yeah, this
Yeah,
was
yeah,
shockingly good
mhm, mhm.
for
Yeah,
me.
and this came out, and not too long after it, Ghost in a Shell came out, and that kind of solidified my idea that anime was something to look out for, that something special could happen with anime. And um the the thing with the anime and a lot with a lot of action movies is um after Akira and Ghost in the Shell, watching some anime, it's a lot of it just devolves into just action, and there's not a lot to kind of trap my interest in that. A lot of times I just kind of lose interest and while watching it, and I kind of space out and lose lose the plot, so to speak, and then I'll
Right.
have to rewind back and watch a little bit of it to figure out what's going on. Whereas like Akira, it actively kind of engage you. Any action that's going on uh actually is involved emotionally and in the plot, and the story is really triggered by what's going on. So it's not some guy fighting some guy. It's it's a struggle, this very physical struggle between someone and someone else in their identity. And it really there's like real stakes involved, so that I don't kind of lose track of what's going on.
No, for sure. There's a level of seriousness with animated stuff that like it's just like, well, if you're Western and like me and you, like growing up, it might take a little bit longer to kind of like, okay, you take it serious, but that is, I haven't seen, I've seen bits and pieces of Ghost in the Shell, but I've never seen the
uh,
whole thing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and
and
that's
like
one of the,
that's one that I
that's
would love to get in. Like I see now there's this whole treasure box of things that I
yeah.
can jump into.
Yeah, I kind of thought about maybe making this a double feature of Akira and Ghost in the Shell, which maybe I should have, but but yeah,
It's okay.
uh, that may be something we can dip back into. But yeah,
I
those
think for
two
sure.
are really good. And just looking at at those lists there, Perfect Blue is another great anime, and Neo Genesis
Mhm.
Evangelino. That one I just recently watched. Yeah, for a long time it was not available, and Netflix just recently put it up on their site, so I watched that. And that one's sort of a mind blower too. It's a I think a 28 episode series. So that
Wow.
way, that one might be a little bit more than what we want to get into currently. But
Yeah,
but
that might be
yeah.
like a 3 week roll up or so,
Mhm.
probably, um,
Yeah.
if not longer, maybe. That's real cool. Yeah, see, this is cool because now there's like all kinds of cool things. What honestly, what it kind of makes me want to do is, it makes me want to play Cyberpunk 2077 kind of
Mhm.
a little bit.
Yeah,
At least
when
I
I was
installed it.
yeah.
Like whether I did I actually play? No, but that's a different story because I don't have too much time. But that it is what.
Yeah, I noticed I was when I was researching it, Akira on Wikipedia, it said I think in that or somewhere else that Kaneda's bike is actually in Cyberpunk, the game. So I was like, oh my god, I need to go in and
Oh,
find that.
dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna make me want to play it. If I say that, but like we'll see. But
Yeah.
it's fun though. Like when you get inspired to when one genre is similar genre inspires you to go play, this or that. That's a great thing. And there's so much richness to pick from too. At least in 2022, as we record this here today. Yeah, this was just this was a great pick. It definitely has opened up, and we've kind of been uh, uh, definitely cracking the door, if not opening the door all the way into some of this stuff too. Regardless, anyway,
Mhm.
to manga and anime. We've talked about it before. I think this might be one of our first shows actually covering it. At least anime going
Mhm.
in pretty solid on it. But yeah, we both have that background from our childhood, and
Mhm.
it makes it just this whole thing like where they're cruising around and stuff. It just is pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Like it's just like it begs for you to watch it again. And like I said, I watched it 2 times. And I tried to be authentic and I tried to watch it with the Japanese and the subtitles, but I ended up switching it back over to the English like halfway through.
Yeah,
But
that's cool. I mean, everybody has their preferred way of watching things, and then that's
yeah,
totally okay.
I I
I
I want to. Yeah, I agree with you though. Like it would probably be better if I were to like let it be Japanese and then just read the subtitles. I think that that would be a good experience to do. Probably for
yeah,
a third watch through.
yeah, and one of the things I absolutely love about this movie is there's certain scenes where Tetsuo is having sort of hallucinations with his powers. There's like other beings within him that are sort of like influencing his hallucinations. There's like this giant bear that shows up at one point, and that whole hallucination thing is like I love that stuff. Like the bear that comes out and attacks him. The whole
Mhm.
weird sort of hallucination type stuff is is something I love within this movie.
Awesome.
And like
Yeah, good pick.
the end of the movie is I guess you could kind of keep it small, but there's like this mind expanding idea that happens. um in when I watched it with my friends back in the day when I first exposed them to it, we spent like a couple hours just discussing the end of the movie about what implication that it meant and what was going on at the time that was going on there. And there's it's such a rich idea that you can't do that within a Marvel universe movie at this
No,
time.
you can't. No, I would agree. There are things that manga can do, and that is just part of what it's world building. That um, American comic books are completely different. They're
Mm.
it's not the same. It's it's like a play versus a movie. Okay, like they're two vastly different ways that they do those things, and how they build the story and all that. It's equally distant from that concept from one to the other. I would say, make an argument
Mhm.
anyway. It's just like I said, like it really reminds me of, and obviously the DC ones that I'm talking about are probably heavily influenced by, maybe not this one per se, but by the whole genre they're in, because it is a lot of that style. Look, reminded me a lot of it, kind of a little bit like minus the superpower stuff, like
Mhm.
because how they set it up is like it's very well balanced too. It's just interesting.
Mhm.
The
Oh,
the
and
just the way they did it. And you say that they hit 2,000 freaking a huge storyline. They just go on forever.
yeah, 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 and they predicted the Olympics. They predicted that the Olympics would happen in 2020
Yeah, I
in
guess they did.
Japan. Hmm.
That's awesome.
You know, in the big set piece at the end of the movie takes place in the stadium that they're building for the Olympics for
Yeah,
2020.
that's right. You're right. You're right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two because you see 2019 and then 2020. Well, you don't
Hmm.
give it too much thought because it's like, well, this is, and then, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, this was a fun watch. Even better because this kind of fully opens the door for me, personally, to be watching some of these. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to do this again, like Ghost in the
Hmm.
Shells one. There are all kinds of great ones to do
Yeah,
this with.
and I think at this point, anime has kind of set its tropes. People kind of dismiss it for its tropes, like the big busted, questionably aged
Hmm.
girls, when you know the kawaii stuff, and
What is
there's
that?
like
That's with the waifu or waifu or all that
yeah.
other horse, all that other
Yeah,
horse
yeah.
crap.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and so there's all that crap that
Right.
kind of
Meme stuff.
meme worthy stuff that kind of
Yeah.
blindsides you and kind of distracts you from what anime can be. And Akira is the pinnacle of what anime can be and what anime should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, yeah, I do have very fond memories. And again, this is the one that I'm gonna have to offline, I'm gonna have to look for it. But I do remember watching it with a friend, a few friends when I was in the Air Force. And we were just killing time like every week, to save money. We started
Uh-huh.
watching this thing because he had it. It was some kid who grew up in Japan or something and kind of bounced around the states or whatever. But
Mhm.
he played it. I can't remember what it is, but we watched that whole series, and I was just like, at first I was like, this is dumb. Why are we watching this shit? And they're like, and he's like, shh. Everybody's like, shh. And then sure enough, within 15 minutes, I got hooked. And then, so another friend would come in and be like, what are you guys doing? Shh, we're watching
Yeah.
something. And then we would just watch the next. Of course, that was back when you had to have the DVD to binge, binge watch, whatever. But
Oh yeah, yeah, and and I think back when we were worked together in our old company, there was another guy that was into anime there that we would he hated me because we both loved anime and we'd buy our stuff on DVD and we would trade it to watch. Once I
okay.
watched the series on DVD, I would trade it with him, but I would get distracted and never finish the series. So he hated
Uh,
me because because I would get him hooked on something and then I would never finish up buying the series.
that's funny. That's funny.
But
That's funny.
yeah, and not to say that I'm expert on anime or Mike. So if you guys out in the audience are a little bit familiar with anime and have suggestions, obviously give us suggestions out in the comments,
Oh,
of
yeah,
course.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I am not even a filthy casual. I'm not even a casual. I'm a newbie for sure. For sure. And I like it too because like then I don't have, excuse me, then I don't have to worry about it. I
Yeah.
can find one good one to the next one. I'm already gonna start on, like, when I finish Planet Test, I'm gonna start on the Vinland Tales, I think is what it is. It's that same author
Okay.
does it, but it's like it's a decade plus of a
Mhm.
storyline that's still, I believe it's still going on. If not,
Mhm.
regardless, I'm never going to get to the end of it. But
Yeah.
where I start, I don't know.
Mhm.
But I know that that's one that looks cool that
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
to check into.
The guy that I'm like really majorly into currently is Junji Ito. He's a big horror manga guy. I love all of his stuff. Um, his let's see, yeah, that first guy up there, Shiver. Yeah, that guy, Junji Ito. He's oh my god, he he is horror.
Sure.
He did Tome, and he's done
Terrible.
Spiral. There's been some movies and anime based off of his stuff.
Mhm.
But if you can get a hold of his or his manga, yeah, that Uzumaki, that's a great one too.
Okay. Okay.
He's he he's one of those he does a really good physical horror so well that when you look at it, it makes you cringe a little bit. It's like, oh my god, this is this is this is too much. But yeah, he's uh
Great.
he's he's someone that I really like.
So that's cool. That'll go in the extras column for sure.
Yeah.
For sure this week. That's awesome.
I,
Yeah. There is just a whole world waiting, and I'm really looking forward to getting into, especially on the sci-fi side too.
yeah.
Even Japanese sci-fi authors. Like I said, there's one that my brother-in-law recommended, and I got to break it open here, hopefully soon. Probably like wait when I have a slower week in the summer, and life slows down a little bit to actually. I want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to be
Right.
rushed through.
Right.
And I'm very particular, and unfortunately, it causes a lag. Sometimes years is what it is. Months for sure. Sometimes weeks. Well, I've gotten a lot better since we've been doing this thing, because there's an outlet for it, I guess. But
Mhm.
aside from just checking the box, sometimes you forget about storylines. But
Mhm.
yeah, I want to give it its due, for sure, for sure. Yeah, this week was great. Um, uh, this is a hell of a strong recommend from me. Just as a newbie,
Mhm.
never seeing it before, it's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff out there that I'm looking forward to getting into for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we didn't mention it, but another one is like Gundam. I know that's like huge. Um,
Mhm.
I never got into it, but I know that it's a massive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just recently started getting to it, but um and I also used to make fun of it, but Dragon Ball Z's also can be fun. I used to make fun of
Send
it that it was just two big heads screaming at each other for 30 minutes, but but yeah.
Yep,
But
kinda.
but but I've kind of gotten into the series, and it's a little bit more to it.
Yeah, so I got into that, and I didn't find that myself. I found out from my a cousin I have. Like we would watch. He got me into it, and it would be on I think Cartoon Network, like Adult
Mhm.
Swim, really really
Yeah,
late at night.
Adult Swim, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we watched it, and
Mhm.
they cut it because it was serialized, obviously, and then
Mhm.
like they would cut it up, and like I fell into that stupid show. It was awesome. I loved it. Now
Mhm.
I didn't keep up with it or anything, but like I
Mhm.
paid attention to like um, a couple of the video games. I think there's like one or two, I don't know, and then I think I have fallen into the YouTube rabbit hole of like figuring out, well, what happened when this happened, or like what happened in
Mhm.
this, because like I realized that was just like one small storyline, and then
Mhm.
all these
Yeah.
other ones, that you find out about
Mhm.
later. But it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're enjoying Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, and and I think the younger generation is like really into manga and anime,
Yeah.
and uh it's outselling comic books lately. Manga
Oh,
is like way outselling.
oh yeah.
It's
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so
Not
yeah,
even a
and that
contest.
right,
Yeah.
and which comparable to when I was collecting comic books back in the day when I was young,
Hmm.
there was no manga. There was no manga
Right.
to collect, and what there was, I snapped up, obviously, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the American comic books trying to catch up now with what's going on with the manga.
Yeah, and they won't. And they won't because
Mhm.
it's just like its own unique IP. Like when Hollywood tries to do it, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like you can do stylized
Mhm.
things, and if it's not really good, people will reject it, and it's just
Right.
not. It's just better to do what you do best. You know, like
Mhm.
not try to
Yeah,
try
and
to
it
run something.
obviously, yeah, it obviously comes down to story. You have to have a good story, and
Yeah,
once
absolutely.
yeah, once you tell compelling stories, uh you're going to eventually draw somebody. Yeah, it might not take immediately, but eventually, eventually someone will find it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that that brings us up to the end of the show
Hmm.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Good solid choice. Like again, you have led me down. You have very great taste, my friend,
Hey.
and I am very grateful for that. But yeah, also to kind of note to the audience, we would love to hear feedback from you, good or bad,
Hmm.
even the ugly, good, bad, the ugly.
Hmm.
Like, subscribe, comment. We also have
Yep.
another show on Wednesdays, which is our grab bag one, where we go through our weekly recommendations, whether it be on YouTube,
Hmm.
comic books, other media, whatever. And then finally, we end the week strong with Tom's first trek through the Next Generation, and we have only a couple more episodes left, or
Hmm.
for us to cover before we clear that out and we jump into a new show. Uh, but but uh,
Yep.
first things first. Please again like it, comment, subscribe. If you can share us out anywhere, we'd love to see that. And if you
Yep.
have any commentary, we'd love it. But this has been Mike,
This is Thomas.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right.